faced anything like this before.
Let them come.
Hello everybody and welcome, this is Common and Cam. With Transformers Rise of the Beast finally out, it's time to break down all the Easter eggs and references, things you might have missed. I've got so many videos planned for Transformers Rise of the Beast, so be sure to subscribe to get everything. I recently did a breakdown on the movie's ending and mid-credit scene explaining the future of the sequels, so be sure to check that out if you haven't already after this video. So without further ado, let's just dive straight into it. Now I've got to start off this video by talking about the iconic Unicron melody. In the original 1986 Transformers Generation 1 movie, it makes an appearance in this film. It is the point where Unicron is approaching Earth in the present, not in the past, at the opening scene of the movie. Yes, we have a nod to the original score. It's a beautiful revision. He was actually in the credits of the movie, Vince DiCola, and it's good to see some appreciation. And how can you not include an iconic melody like that? It's things that just remind you of the original 1986 movie. It's how it starts off with that beautiful sound. Of course, I can't play it due to copyright reasons, but honestly, it's such a beautiful track. And annoyingly, if you listen to it on YouTube, it has been listed as Unicorn is coming. Come on guys, you can do better than that.
The Khans killed a unicorn? White horse with a horn on its head. Prances around all sparkly.
Unicron.
I gotta admit, it kind of annoyed me we didn't get it at the beginning of the movie, but regardless, I'm still happy we got it midway through. It was such a cool entrance, really emphasizing that the threat of Unicron is here and the situation is dire. Alright, next up is a weird one. Mark Wahlberg is name dropped in the film. This is at the point in his career when he was breaking into acting, around 1994, which is where the film takes place, and Mirage calls him by the nickname he actually hates the most, Marky Mark. Wow, that was weird. You know, just considering we know Mark Wahlberg as Cage Yeager in the Bayverse timeline, but I feel like Mark Wahlberg's not going to watch this film. He's not going to like it because they called him Marky Mark. I've heard news reports and, you know, people have told stories about how he hates that nickname. And the 90s was a very strange time for Mark Wahlberg as well. I guess if you know, you know. Well, I wouldn't say strange, but he was a bit of an oddball back then. But hey, there you go. Well done, Mirage. Now, speaking about Mirage, not only does he have the hologram abilities of Hound from the original G1 cartoon, but he has several alt modes throughout the movie. Noah agrees to sneak in the museum to get the transwarp key for the Autobots, but in return, Mirage will help him get some money by him selling himself as various cars. Well, we actually have his original Generation 1 alt mode. Now this was a way of just teasing the fans of what we could have had. You know, we have the F1 racer car. Such a cool nod. You know, I actually saw at one point of the trailer his foot look a bit like the F1, but I didn't think too much of it because I thought I was just like kind of seeing things and it's like, oh, it's just halfway transformed. It just kind of looks like that. But no, I was right. Yeah, he actually does. I was still surprised. Like, I didn't have that in the back of my mind because he also turns into a Lamborghini, which many fans will know is G1 Sideswipe's alt mode. So that was cool as well. And the final alt mode where they were sneaking into the museum was just a dump truck. So yeah, Mirage can change forms. He does it quite a bit in this movie. Granted, Autobots can do this. We just never see him change that much. You know, they usually stick to one alt mode, and we assume that's the only one they can have. But no, they can have multiple, of course. I would have loved to have seen how big Mirage was when he scanned that dump truck. Now, I thought it was just like a hologram, not him actually changing alt modes. But, I don't know, either one, it could have been both. Now, Mirage makes a lot of jokes in the movies, mostly 90s and 80s references. I won't be going into them because I don't care about those Easter eggs. I'm mostly talking about the Transformers Easter eggs, like in-continuity Easter eggs, references to previous Transformers series and movies. For example, the home base of the Autobots is a reference to Transformers Animated because in that show, the Autobots' main base on Earth was a factory far out from the city, so no one's just going to be kind of waltzing in and kind of noticing these big giant robots. Now let's briefly talk about the Maximals. So we do know there are more Maximals. It was quite strange in the film where Airazor had been kind of apart from Optimus Primal, Cheetor, and Rhinox for quite a while. I assumed that Airazor was just merely spying on the Autobots due to the transport key being activated, so like Primal sent her to get the Autobots so they can kind of figure out a plan or something like that. Turned out to be the opposite case. Airazor and Optimus Primal have not spoke for quite a long time. I thought that was kind of a weak part of the plot. It would have made sense if they were kind of like together. But Optimus Primal does ask Airazor on what happened to the other Maximals, but we only saw them leave at the opening scene. We only saw Rhinox, Airazor, Optimus Primal, and Cheetor escape the Maximal Island. Of course, there would be more Maximals, but it's a shame we didn't kind of get to see more. But when Optimus Primal asks Airazor what about the others, meaning her pact of the Maximals, she says they're all gone. Now, this could be pretty much any Beast Wars character in the Beast Wars cartoon. You know, maybe Airazor had Depth Charge or Rat Trap or Tigertron with her. It's kind of a shame that they mentioned that there's no more Maximals left. Does this mean we won't get to see Rat Trap or Depth Charge, Tigertron, all the great other Maximals in this series? It's kind of a shame. I felt like the Maximals were really underused in this film and we could have done with a lot more of them. So the idea we won't be getting any other Maximals, or potentially, I don't know what this line could really infer, but I took the impression that there are no more Maximals left and they are the only 4, well, 3 now, due to Airazor's death in the film. I'm sure we will get more Maximals in the future. There might be others that escaped elsewhere, but this line was kind of weird for me. I don't think it really made much sense. Next up, we have a reference from the Bumblebee movie. Human character Charlie Watson, played by Hailey Steinfeld, she got a mention. I wish they named her character, but it was still a sweet moment. So basically, Optimus Prime in this movie doesn't trust humans. He doesn't want them involved in their war. He never intended on staying on Earth for long, but unfortunately, the Autobots have been stranded on Earth for 7 years. But when Noah's character gets involved in the Autobots situation on the Transwarp Key, because that's Optimus Prime's opportunity to get back to Cybertron, he doesn't trust Noah. And Bumblebee is trying to convince Optimus Prime that not all humans are bad, which Prime responds to Bumblebee that I know that one human was good to you, but we don't want them involved in our war. Which I thought was a cool nod. It's a shame Charlie is not in these sequels. I hope in the future she makes an appearance at the very least. I understand that her character arc was kind of wrapped up at the end of Bumblebee, and not all humans need to cross over to the following sequels. But maybe if Charlie knew about the Autobots, maybe it would have made Optimus Prime a bit more trustworthy of humans. Granted, it would have taken away that kind of element of a plot, but I really like her character, okay? Next up is, well, kind of an Easter egg. It's pretty much part of the main score anyway, but it's the original Steve Jablonsky Transformers music when the Autobots arrive to Earth in the first 2007 movie. It's such a cool moment to hear that music once again. It was used pretty much the same in the Transformers The Last Night movie towards the end, but I feel like this movie did it a lot better and that music kind of fitted a lot more with this situation. Really cool to have Steve back, even though it was just for that one score. It is an iconic piece of Transformers music, so to have that is really cool. Now let's talk about some of the Terracons, mostly the mini-bots. So we have Freezer, very similar to Frenzy from the original 2007 movie. But then we also have some Terracons where the head design, at least to me, looked a bit like Laserbeak from Dark of the Moon. Very interesting there. We get a lot of designs, CGI models being reused for these films. One of the biggest things about Scourge was that he looked a bit similar to Optimus Prime from the Bayverse. That is, of course, just a crazy theory and nothing more. Of course, Scourge never ended up being Bayverse Optimus Prime in the film. It wasn't even alluded to even once, so that theory was simply just a theory. But we have designs being used all the time, such as Ape Link. Ape Link is pretty much just the same as Optimus Primal with just an altered faceplate, which I thought was pretty lame, but to be fair, I can excuse that because Ape Link is nothing more than just a redeco of that original Transmetal Optimus Primal toy. Now let's talk about Mirage's body parts being able to become battle armor for Noah's character. This is very similar to sort of a headmaster, target master, sort of a weird, strange combination of that, but it's more similar to the exosuit that Daniel and Spike Witwicky got in that original 1986 movie, with all the abilities and sort of stuff it can do. So Mirage is, he's a weird case. He is probably the most bizarre character in the movie with all these abilities, yet none of these Autobots seem to have anything that he possesses. So what's the deal with Mirage? Is he some sort of like unique Cybertronian? Your guess is as good as mine. Now let's talk about one of the biggest Easter eggs that was at the very end of the film. And actually this wasn't Lorenzo Di Boventro's idea like I suggested or assumed it was. It was actually the director of the movie himself, Stephen Kipple Jr., who was putting forward this idea of a G.I. Joe Transformers crossover / reference. So I apologize for that, Lorenzo. You win this round. Now this Easter egg was kind of strange to me. I don't think it was needed. I don't think we needed a G.I. Joe reference in a Transformers movie to make us hyped for the future. In fact, it kind of let down the movie for me a little bit, mostly because I don't have any affection for the G.I. Joe cartoon, so in a sense I kind of felt nothing. I was still surprised, but I didn't really feel like I wasn't excited, nor was I sort of really sad. I was just kind of like a little bit let down by it, because I'm like, okay, this is just Paramount's way of trying to make more G.I. Joe movies, to make more money out of another franchise that nobody seems to be really interested in, judging by the last G.I. Joe movie and the other G.I. Joe movies. The last one was Snake Eyes, and it only made $40 million at the box office. And just because I wasn't thrilled about this ending, of course, doesn't mean other people weren't. If you are a massive fan of G.I. Joe and you were so happy about this, well, I'm happy for you. You know, this is your two franchises colliding. I'm sure this was like a cool epic moment for you. But yeah, they don't really know exactly what they're doing with the G.I. Joe franchise. This was them potentially teasing a crossover. Nothing is actually concrete. They actually weren't sure halfway through the film. It was sort of like a last minute addition. While I would have opted for more of a Megatron kind of tease ending, or even a Unicron tease ending, this is what we got, and we'll just have to wait and see what the future holds. Next up we have Wheeljack's fins. Yes, I'm going to include this as an Easter egg considering they were only in one shot of the movie, which you could tell it was a last minute addition due to the fan uproar. Because in the UK's version of the trailer, we don't see Wheeljack's fins extend, but in the American one and pretty much every other trailer, we see him extend. If you're living under a rock, there was a whole debate over Wheeljack's new design for this movie. If you want more details about that, be sure to check out my Every Wheeljack Design Ranked, where I go into a lot more detail about that drama. Now, design-wise, I wasn't really too fussed with the change, you know, it felt like a last-minute addition anyway, but I was more surprised that during the final battle, we don't see him again at all, so it just kind of begs the question, what's the purpose of these fins? Why are they there? What was the point of changing it if we're only going to see it for just one shot? You know, it's like, okay, whatever. The fins would have suited a better purpose if they were like a battle mask extension, but we don't even see a mask, we just see fins. But regardless, I'll just treat this now as just a subtle nod. For what they actually do, however, is a mystery to me. And there we have it, guys. They are all the major Easter eggs I noticed on the first screening of Transformers Rise of the Beast. I will be watching this film multiple times, so there'll be a lot more than what I've just covered in this video, so expect multiple videos in the future. Of course, tell me in the comment section below what you noticed, and let me know which Easter egg is your favourite. And if you haven't already, do check out my ending breakdown for Transformers Rise of the Beast. I talk about the ending scene, what it implies for the future, and then also the mid-credits scene. There's a lot to talk about, there's a lot to dissect, so I hope you all stick around and enjoy. And for more updates just like this, be sure to like, comment and subscribe, and click that notification bell to get all updates instantly. This has been Common and Cam, and until the next video guys, goodbye.